We're going to ask them as a policy. I got one if we need to. We call this meeting of the strategic planning to order. Roll call. Councilman Lambert is here and Councilman Savoy. Councilman Lambert will now lead us in a prayer.
Thank you, Lord, for allowing us to be here tonight. Give us the wisdom to make the decisions that are very important in this parish and a lot of citizens' actions that happen in the upcoming months. Please pray for all the soldiers and get them home safe. And we ask this in your name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, for public comment period, we can have that at each agenda item if you'd be recognized, and we have a public speaker card. Report by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Mr. Alan Krause will give the report for the Planning and Zoning Commission. Mr. Allen.
Yeah, the biggest item on the agenda for Wednesday is the Spanish Moss PUD. It was deferred from last month's meeting, so it will be presented again on Wednesday. There was a couple of the commissioners that had some questions on it, so they've had those addressed, and so we'll revisit it on Wednesday. And I just have a quick clarification. Once we vote on it, it comes to this body, or does it go straight to the council? I mean, I know sometimes it's supposed to
As it coming in as a PUD?
As it coming in as a PUD.
It goes to the council.
Straight to the council.
Goes to the council.
Okay.
And then it goes back to planning and zoning.
Right. Once it's whatever action you take. Okay. And that's it.
Any questions or comments? Thank you, Ms. Allen. We appreciate everything you do. Board of Adjustment's not here tonight. The burning ordinance, and this is something that we have been working on, and we have Mr. O'Neill Parrington has gone through and kind of revamped the burning ordinance and some of the things that are in it, and we tried to make it where if we had complaints that you could do a summons. It would be like issuing a ticket that we could have, and so that it would be as least intrusive as possible. And we're going to go through, for the sake of not having everyone seen all of it, we're going to go through it section by section. The first one is definitions. Take a look at those definitions as we go. For definition of junk vehicle, we'll read this one because I think this one is important to understand what we're looking for. Motor vehicle would meet one or more of the following conditions can be listed as a junk vehicle. The vehicle is inoperable, is dismantled, partially dismantled, or severely damaged, does not have a valid vehicle safety inspection, does not have a valid license plate, one or more of the vehicle's tires are flat and have remained flat for a period of 24 hours, and the vehicle is leaking all the other fluids. So we can... Yeah.
Mr. Shakespeare, I thought we was on a burning.
I thought we was on a burning.
Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm reading. Burning cars. We're burning cars, and I apologize for that because I had that in front of me first. And the burning ordinance, you're absolutely right. They're going to use the same criteria for giving summonses. Outdoor burning. And the exceptions, I think, is what we were looking for here. Burning is part of an agricultural enterprise. Outdoor burning in connection with preparation of food. Campfires and fires used solely for recreational purposes or ceremonial. small fires by tradesmen and contractors in such activities as street repairs, installation, or repair of sewer, water, electric, telephone mains and services. The operation of contrivances using open flames, such as welding torches, etc. Outdoor burning of trees, brush, grass, and other vegetable matter from such area in land clearing and right-of-way maintenance operations if the following conditions are met. You must be 1,000 feet away from another dwelling. Heavy oils, asphalt materials cannot be used. Any other materials other than plant growth which produce unreasonable amount of smoke may not be burned, nor may these substances be used to start a fire. The burning may be conducted only between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Piles of combustible materials should be of such size to allow complete reduction in this time interval, of which I think that we would have to make some list of an exception there, because on contractors burning of lots, a lot of times it goes a couple of days burning, so I would like to put in there an exception for continuous burning of land clearing. With permits, because you're supposed to get permits on those. That's F3. Also, they have stipulations that burning must be controlled so that traffic hazards are not created. Small trash household fires that do not contain oils, rubbers, plastics, PVC, and other materials that produce unreasonable amount of smoke, so long as the fire is at least 500 feet from any other dwelling. And, of course, nothing herein shall prevent controlled burns for drills for firefighting personnel.
Have we considered, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
have we considered bonfires, which would be lit after the hours as stipulated?
Campfires, fires used solely for recreational purpose or for ceremonial occasions. So that would qualify for that. Basically, looking at all normal fires that you would use under normal situations can be continued to be used, and they're looking for someone that is coming in and burning an unreasonable amount of smoke. We'll have something that we can use to try to control that.
Mr. Chairman, what has to be permitted in this ordinance? Every fire?
No.
What items?
No.
Just your continuation on your...
Yes.
that would be the only thing? Or the large fire?
The only thing that you would have to permit is what you need to permit now. If you have a large fire that needs to continuous burning, you have to permit that now. A contractor clearing a large lot can start a fire. We already have something under those conditions now.
I'd like to share an experience that I had that I don't see in here, and it may be something that we want to touch base with. I had built a bonfire for my family, my grandkids. I don't remember exactly when it was, but I lit it, and shortly after I lit it, because I live a quarter of a mile from San Amon Fire Department, I heard the siren. And jokingly, I told my daughter, I said, they're coming over here. Well, within 2 minutes, my road was lined up with fire trucks for a bonfire. The neighbor had called, not knowing what was going on. So that's something that we might want to pass by the fire departments and see if there's anything as far as a mechanism that we might be able to put in here to call and register a large fire, bonfire, whether it be a bonfire or something like that, or a gathering, to where they won't have to be dispatched with the first call that comes in. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, it's a great burden. It's a great burden on the fire departments to come out just to find out that it's a controlled fire and it's a
I think that would
for
probably
recreational
be,
purposes.
that would probably be simpler for the homeowner to just make a call to the fire department and let them know that you're making a large fire, and then that would eliminate that problem. We can encourage them.
Well, we need to
I
educate
think that would
them.
be a good educational tool on
Yeah.
TV. We could request our technology department to put something up on that. Is that right, Ozzy?
So, Mr. Chairman, construction in a subdivision would not be allowed to burn because they would be within the 500 foot of the dwelling, another dwelling
Construction.
in the subdivision. A lot of your construction
It
homes
says-
burns a
It
lot
says
of,
an exception. In the exceptions are
but if it's near 500 feet, they
No.
won't be able to burn, correct?
where is it?
1,000 feet from any dwelling other than a dwelling or structure located on the property on which the burning is conducted.
No, it says
On 5, it says F5, it says small trash household fires that do not contain oils, rubbers,
500
plastics, PVC.
Oh,
It's 500 feet.
it has no conditions for small fires by tradesmen and contractors of such activities as street repair, installation, and repair of sewer, water, electric, telephone mains, and services. That's accepted. An exception.
But isn't this
Does not have any-
isn't the reason that this was originated, this burning ordinance was because of subdivision burning construction?
No, because of people burning in subdivisions in their backyards.
But I
But
thought
we-
it was under the construction while they were building. Somehow, some people are in their houses right next to the new construction.
Yes.
And they are burning, so the construction companies, builders are burning, and that would cause you're gonna get complaints. That's where from what I can understand, where we were getting the complaints from.
They had a few complaints from that, though, but the majority of the complaints were homeowners in subdivisions that were burning, and so that's what we wanted to target to stop. That was initial intent, and there were some complaints from contractors, but we have decided. I mean, they've all decided to allow them to continue. It's a small amount of burning that they do. Most contractors haul off most of their material. This has been gone over a number of times by Mr. Parrington.
the 1,000 feet. How did we come to that footage there? Do you?
It's on F1.
Is it based
That was
on
just
some other?
That was a recommendation by O'Neill.
Okay. And I'm questioning because I didn't know if they came out of some standard, some fire standard or fire code or something like that that's already existing. Because they're, yeah, let's see. Hang on a
I don't
second.
think there's, we've gone through this thing a great deal, and O'Neill has modified it and come back with different scenarios. I don't think there's any way that we can foresee ahead of time exactly how this is going to work out until we implement something and then come back, let's say 6 months or so, and find out what is truly happening, what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages, and then we may have to make some type of adjustments. I would like to get, as we implement this, I would like to get a constant report back from the planning department and see, are we being, are we taking care of the complaints, and are we efficient in this, and where are the areas that need to be modified to make the intent of what we're trying to do. And the intent is to try to get fires from condensed areas and subdivisions that currently some people are doing.
Because there's been quite a bit of work put in this already, I would make a motion that we do submit this to the full council for consideration, so that way the full council has the opportunity to see the final draft. We need to do that.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Savoy and a second by Mr. Lambert to present this to the full council for their consideration as it is written, and we ask that you take a look at it. With that, this is passed, and we will send it on with the recommendation. Ms. Suzanne, can you see that everyone gets a copy? And we ask that they take a look at it. If there's any questions or anything, please contact me, and we will try to forward those concerns and get with Mr. O'Neill, Parrington. Okay, now the junk car ordinance, which I have in front of me. This is something else that we're trying to do to take care of the eyesores that are in the parish, try to update things. And of course, this excludes any of the municipalities. And of course, for the benefit of Jerry, I think you had not been privy to this. We had the first couple that we received from O'Neill, trying to copy basically what they were doing in the city. Is I think we had 9 ordinances that we had to pass to get this to be able to haul off vehicles, and we just found that was very awkward to implement and hard to enforce. And so O'Neill went back and basically did all the conditions that we had and put it into more of a summons, where you receive a ticket now and you get fined, and that would allow for the homeowner to clean up an option to clean up his property or contest the summons. Questions about definitions? We can move to section 2. private passenger vehicles not routinely used for commercial business, cars, trucks, sport utility vehicles, vans, and motorcycles. Off-street parking includes recreational and so on. Section 3, off-street parking, which is basically utility and recreational vehicles. And they ask that they not be permanently occupied for them to qualify. Shall be unlawful to allow raw sewage to drain into open land, as this shall constitute a health hazard. Before,
That's a state law already, right?
yeah, but
With the Board of
before we only the board, the health department could intervene in those, and this allows us to intervene because of health hazards from the parish standpoint.
Ken, on Section 3A, it's saying that the travel trailers or whatever you have to be on a hard surface.
That's
What are you calling hard surface? Are you calling asphalt, cement, or you
no,
rocks?
yeah.
Usually a hard surface means, like a paved or some sort. What I've always...
I think they have it. Defined.
Concrete, yeah, they do have a hard surface definition.
It's not just concrete though. It's or asphalt.
Concrete or asphalt continuously poured or applied to form a paved surface consistent with that of a driveway. So that is so if someone has a travel trailer right now, they just put it on limestone or something in their yard, they would have to come back and put a hard surface in order to store it. And there's a lot.
What would you like to put?
There's a lot in that category. A lot of people store them.
Put including gravel and other driveway material. Let's do that.
Definitely.
Jerry, you all right with that?
Yeah, we need to amend it. I'm not sure how the verbiage needs to be.
We'll send
include it.
We're going to send it to O'Neill and let him rewrite
Okay.
it. But the intention is to include gravel and similar material for driveways. The intention for this was to just not have them out in yards all over, is to have them on a driveway or a location that would be consistent with a recreational vehicle parking. We'll get O'Neill to add that. Okay, Section 4. You on that, Jerry? Location or presence of junk or abandoned vehicles within the parish deemed public nuisances, exceptions. No person shall abandon any vehicle within the parish or leave any vehicle in any place within the parish for such time and under such circumstances as to cause such vehicle to reasonably appear to have been abandoned. No person shall leave a junk vehicle on any street or highway within the parish. No person shall perform maintenance on a vehicle while parked on a street unless such is of a minor nature to get a disabled vehicle moving again. In other words, don't start setting up to repair vehicles in an area. It shall be unlawful to store or keep any junk vehicle on any property within the parish of Ascension unless the vehicle or any part thereof is completely enclosed within a building in a lawful manner where it is not visible from the street or other public or private property, or the vehicle or part thereof is stored on property that is maintained in such a manner that it does not constitute a health hazard and is screened from ordinary public view. So if you're going to have them, you have to screen them from public view. Section 5. Location or presence of appliances and rubbish within the parish deemed public nuisance and provided remedies shall be unlawful for the owner or occupant of a residential or commercial building or property to utilize the premises of such property for open storage of any junk appliances or rubbish. Such prohibition includes the storage of junk appliance or rubbish in an open carport. For any property found in violation of this section, the owner and occupant shall be notified on the form prescribed by the Director of Planning. The notice issued will list each violation and prescribe the period of time given for correction of each violation. If the violations are not corrected within the time prescribed in the notice, the owner and or occupant shall be cited for a violation of this ordinance and be summoned to court. So they will get given a violation paper, given a certain amount of time to take care of that violation, and when that time is up, they will be issued a summons to appear in court. No one can just come to someone's house and issue you a fine or anything like that, or haul something away.
Now, let me make sure I understand this here. It says such prohibition includes the storage of any junk appliance or rubbish in an open carport.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
A lot of people just haul all their junk and leave it there.
That includes a vehicle too. If I've got an old vehicle, I can't have it on under an open carport. I have to have it screened.
Yeah,
from the street.
screened from the view. If you're going to keep a junk vehicle.
It may cause some trouble, that statement right there. There's a lot of hobby guys, that their better cars are in the shop that they're working on, and you have some that they plan on working that's outside,
Well, all they have to do is put them in the backyard or screen it.
Yeah, but that's easier said than done in some cases.
I don't think you're going to see. I mean, being realistic and being practical, I don't see you're going to have people that's going to issue summonses to people that are working on.
Yeah, but if we have law on the books,
cars,
we can be forced to do that. So
yes.
that's why I'm looking at the exceptions you got here.
The exceptions on Part 6 shall be nothing in this ordinance shall be construed to prevent any of the following activities: operation or parking of any vehicle or piece of equipment owned or operated by Parish Ascension or any other governmental entity while in the performance of official business; operation of commercial vehicles and or equipment owned and operated by the persons who are performing the service for the Parish of Ascension; operation of commercial vehicles and or equipment that are engaged in servicing other public or private utilities or performing some legitimate business service; the use of junk vehicles by educational institutions to promote awareness programs. Enforcement will be by the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office and the Ascension Planning Department. Will have the authority to enforce the provisions of this ordinance. Violations and penalties. Any owner, operator, or other person who violates provision of this ordinance may receive a traffic citation or summons to court. Any vehicle, equipment, or trailer may be towed at the expense of the owner for a violation of this ordinance in addition to the citation or summons to appear in court. This is after they've been summoned and has been convicted in court. Y'all gonna read Part B? Penalties: any person found guilty of violating this ordinance shall be fined not less than $100 or more than $1,000, and or sentenced to not more than 90 days in jail for each violation. And it shall become into effect 30 days after the date of passage.
How about the existing situation that's out there now? They will have to come into compliance with this, or are they going to be grandfathered in, or?
No, that's what we're trying to address, is the existing problems.
And they have, how long do they have to come into compliance?
That's going to be a policy by the planning department. We're going to allow them to make that policy. Right here. As it is now.
Because there are some, across the parish, there are some areas across the parish that has some large, I'm talking acres.
Mm-hmm. And that's why you would have to, I think a number of them are individual as to how they are. Where is it? It says, for any property found in violation, the owner or occupant may be notified on a form prescribed by the Director of Planning, the notice issued for each violation, and prescribe the period of time given for correction of each violation. The violations need to be corrected within the time prescribed in the notice. We wanted to give the planning department an opportunity to establish their own policy to be able to recognize different situations and how they can notify and enforce things, how much time it would actually take. If we put it in the ordinance, then we can't go back and modify things.
How many drafts have y'all worked up on this?
Well, how many times have we done this? It's probably come here about 7 or 8 times. We started out with 9 ordinances, and we were going to automatically tow off vehicles at owner's expense, and it has evolved into this one ordinance where it gives you a summons, issues a summons, and it can be towed off after, if that's what the judge rules on.
We don't have, I mean, I think right now existing, we have an ordinance where we will allow a resident to house one or two. Todd, do you remember?
I don't know if we have. Do we have a?
I think so, yes.
I didn't think it was.
I think there's something in.
I thought Laverne was going to be here tonight. He probably could fill us in on that.
Yeah.
But you have nothing in here?
Multiple.
Yeah, it'd rather be, okay.
I'm still
The
not.
problem they're having is people just leaving the cars in the front yard and
Yeah.
taking off.
And over the last 18 months, we discussed this ordinance several times, and we mentioned about your hobby people, and I think we still don't have any exception to the guys that's fooling with your cars, and they're not going to be able to put them all in their shops because their shops are probably not big enough to house all their cars that they're going to be working on in the future. What I'm saying is, I'm not happy with the exceptions.
You want to try to make have them,
Because I think we
have
really
them
focused
register
on
it.
that also.
we could have them register it with the parish as a hobby car, and they could just come in and get a permit, and then that exempts it from that.
As is right now, I'm not.
I think that would be
ready
very
yet.
fair.
I think we need to make some
But
changes.
what you want to look at is the bureaucracy that you're creating worth it. That's just something that you have to think about, because you're talking about another permitting, and I'm not saying one way or the other. It's just something that you
Well, if
look at.
I don't think there's any way that you can put down here exception would be hobby,
Yeah.
a hobby car. But if they would come in and get a permit, and they could utilize it that way, and then it qualifies as a hobby car. And we could say that the exceptions would be any permitted vehicle by the parish. And we could have the parish be allowed to permit hobby cars. We may want them to permit some other things also later on that we could have. And if we just say that we allow permitted vehicles that are not operational, that would, and that way you could have a policy by planning department of something that would come up that would fall under what you're talking about, Tyler, and let them handle it.
Well, there again, the purpose of the committees is to go out and do the legwork of the issues. I feel like you've done your legwork with this particular issue here, and it is time to bring it to the full council for consideration. It's time to put it up or down, vote it up or down. And I think you got a good enough document here to push it to the council. So
You want to do an amendment for?
I would like to get with O'Neill on a couple of issues on it before I second that motion. I'm not quite ready for it as is because of the exceptions, and I'd like to see the legal part on it, whether or not we're able to do that. If we can't, it's
All right, let's include the questions that we have for hobby cars. We'll question about
because that was brought up from the beginning. That we needed.
Well, it's not the intent to stop people
Right.
from doing hobby cars. We want
Right.
to make sure of that. Obviously, we don't want to do that. We can question whether we can do
Because there's a lot of
by permit.
people works on these cars on their carports, and they're open carports, and they got their cars, somewhat apart while they're working on
Well,
them. I can go ride you in
Yeah.
some decent subdivisions, and you're gonna see that, But they're neat. They ain't like they, everywhere scattered
I
out.
don't think that's
But this ordinance says they could enforce that.
Right.
If the neighbor next to them say, "Hey, I want this enforced."
We'll get with O'Neill and planning department and see whether they would rather take care of hobby cars by permit or some other way. And we'll try to have them give us a. Would you like to send this on with him putting a recommendation on hobby cars with it?
I don't know if it's going to be ready for the next meeting.
Well, what are you asking from the owner now? Whenever you say that, Because the owner, I can tell you, the owner doesn't want no inconvenience, none whatsoever.
No.
On it. There's a couple of things as far as concerns of mine. I share Todd's concern, but so far as the open parking, the open garage, I mean, we're allowing subdivisions to come in with as little as 55-foot frontage or 60-foot frontage. And if someone wants to pick up a hobby, and it happens to be vehicular hobbies, I mean, you're limiting him where he can work, which is his garage a lot of times, or an open carport. I mean, that's where you got to find that balance.
I really think, I agree with you. I really think, I mean, if you fill out a culvert permit, it takes about 5 minutes over there. And if you want to work on a car, and if we're going to clean up the junk cars we have in this parish, we need to start cleaning up the junk cars. If we don't want hobby cars to be involved in that, then I think if you don't want your car to be listed as a junk car, and you want it to take the time, the tremendous amount of time that everybody does, and they do a great job, just stop by and get a permit. And I think that would be the easiest way to do it. It may not be, but we can get a report back. I agree with Councilman Lambert. We shouldn't send this to the full council yet.
I agree with what you just said. I don't think it's real ready.
Until we get,
you got to identify a hobby car, then you're talking about that's going to take some detail.
But that could come. I mean, that's easy to do if you go through the planning department. I think they could take care of that there, and then there's no question about it. They could put a sticker on it, and it doesn't qualify. You could have a sticker that's renewed yearly if you want to keep it for as long as you want. Basically, I'm looking at the biggest problem that we have is the gravel and definition of hard surface, and to make sure that we take care of hobby cars. Other than that, everything is pretty well. We can get him to give us some information on that, take it up at the next meeting.
That would be good.
And go forward there. That way we make sure we get exactly what we want.
Okay. Agreed.
Okay. Suzanne, we're going to send this to O'Neill, back to O'Neill with those two directions.
And if he has any questions, Ms. Susan, tell him to
Yeah. He can call myself or Todd. Call us all.
Another thing that I'd like O'Neill to look at is the existing. Being able to force, and what's it going to take from the parish to force compliance on existing.
Someone that's been there for years.
That's the same thing Gonzales did. I mean, they went through the city and started, and I think it's been probably 8 or 10 years now, and it's taken, and they've pretty much gradually cleaned up the city.
Yeah.
And I think the intent is to start taking a look at the eyesores and go from there. I mean, we don't have the resources to start looking at every little bit.
Yeah, I understand
thing. So I mean, I don't think this is going to be a gradual thing, but I think it's pretty obvious when you talk to people in the parish that they want to get the. It's one of those things when you see it, you know. So that's what we're looking for.
Good.
We'll send it and come on back. If you have any other suggestions, just please make them there. Okay. DPW priority list on bridges. All we were looking for, there's been some discussion at the meetings of we've never really had a priority list on bridges, and we would like from Strategic Planning Committee to make that request of DPW and to send it on to Transportation, if that's what we would so like to do, make it as a formal request for DPW so that we can do that. Mr. Israel, is there a list on our bridges and all throughout the parish of of what is the priority that we need for health reasons and for safety reasons and so on, that we should go down the list as to try to fix.
The Department of Transportation has a list of all the bridges in the parish. Now, as far as replacement priority list, I have not talked with Mr. Bill Rue about that at this point in time.
Well, basically, that's what we're talking about. We'd like to see that from the parish standpoint, maybe the top 10 that we need to look, and that way we can kind of plan down the road as to what we need to do, monies we need to put on the side or try to get grants for, and where they would be going to, what bridges we need to try to fix first and go down the line. So that's basically what we're looking for, and this committee is just simply making a request of DPW, a formal request to do that, and please send that to the Transportation Committee.
I will check with Mr. Rue and try to have it by y'all's next meeting.
Yes.
Well, so far as that, Mr. Shakespeare, in order for the parish to comply with the regulations of the state, as far as getting the state's bridge replacement, falling under the bridge replacement refund, we inspect the bridges. And I'm not saying every year, but I know Mr. Lynn Salvor goes out and inspects the bridges. So we should have a good feel for the bridges that's needing some attention, already.
Yes.
Because, I mean, we've been inspecting bridges
For several years now.
Right.
There is a list of those bridges that are rated, and there's a rating system
Right.
that is part of the off-system bridge replacement program, and I will get with the department and Bill to see exactly what
We
that
understand.
list.
We just need something to look at so that we can go and try to budget monies and see what the need is, so that we can do that, and which areas, which bridges we need to do in the future, maybe years off or whatever, but we want to be able to do that ahead of time.
Correct.
Thank you. All right, drainage ordinance. As many of you know, we've been going through a drainage ordinance, and we've had we've attacked it over the years and changed it. It went to the council. Due to the many changes that we had and the different additions of it, we decided to take what we originally had, send it back to Mr. Babin, and he pretty much wrote it in a little more plain English. He discussed with a lot of people and came up what the intent was, and this is what you have before you. It has been distributed, I think, Miss Suzanne, for a couple of weeks now, and we had it at the last strategic planning meeting, by the way. So we've had it at least a month.
I don't have an extra.
I have not gotten any recommendations for changes to be made. However, I did have a discussion. Mr. Troy, you fill out a public speaker card.
Yes.
Troy Carcioli. We've had a discussion last week, I think, and some ideas were presented by Troy to have an addition to the drainage ordinance that we could put forth. In our many discussions on drainage, we were trying to increase as much as possible the effects in the subdivision that we're going to have, and be able to plan for 100-year events, and we found out that the design of the subdivisions is better off for planning for a 10-year event and doing some drainage work on others, higher drainage work in the surrounding areas, that it would be more practical. And Troy has come up with an idea, and we'd like to share as a way to try to combine that so that we can have actually a better drainage plan for the subdivisions.
Okay, great. Well, this idea is very basic and very simple, and I call it pulling the plug. It's essentially nothing more than adding an additional pipe to allow additional water to be drained from retention ponds and lower that retention pond X number of inches, let's say, for example, 12 inches in this case, prior to a major rain event. 48 hours prior to the major rain event, you would pull the plug, allow the retention pond to lower approximately 12 inches, and outflow the water. And the method of deploying that would be very simple. The homeowners that live adjacent to it or the homeowners association would be your primary individuals to pull the plug and allow the water to start running out. Essentially all it is installing a pipe to the retention pond. The pipe has to be the correct size to drain that retention pond within a 48-hour period. Once you pull the plug, the water outflows. It gives you additional water retention capability for that rain event. After the rain event passes, of course, you can just simply go out and plug the pipe again. It could be a valve. It could be some sort of gate. It's a very simple design. I think the cost-benefit ratio on it is very good because what it takes to deploy it is some basic engineering, which is not extensive, basically nothing more than a pipe, a cement pipe, or it could be a corrugated pipe, or you can even add to the existing pipe that's in there. I went and approached one of the civil engineering groups and asked them to look into it. They've been evaluating it, and if it's possible, they may want to come up and talk about it. The method of deploying and pulling the plug is very basic. Once you get 48 hours in front of this event, let's say a hurricane is going to the west of our position, it means you're going to get a lot of rain. If it goes to the east, you don't even have to pull the plug. But if it goes to the west of our position, you simply pull the plug 48 hours prior to that, and the homeowners association would be the first person that would have the choice of pulling that plug because they're the ones that the retention ponds belong to. The second person in the line would be the homeowner that lives adjacent to that pipe, and then the third and final one would be a parish employee that would go around essentially 48 hours, and any plug that hasn't been pulled, they can pull the plug and outflow the water. And 12 hours after the rain event goes by, they can come back and just close the plug again. This would allow the homeowners to enjoy the retention ponds throughout the year, except for 48 hours prior to a major rain event. That's basically it.
That's basically what Troy had discussed with me. I thought it was a good idea. We passed it on to URS, Mr. Israel. If you want to speak at what you've done since that time, we're not quite ready to go forward with it, but
We have contacted Mike Sanji from CSRS, and they are going to look at all the different ramifications, responsibilities, and exactly what details would be involved in requiring this type of structure on retention ponds in the future. And it will, I presume, CSRS will come back to the strategic planning and the drainage board with some type of recommendation on this idea.
we want everybody to know. We just brought forth this part of it less than a week ago, and Mr. Sanji did not object to it at all. Thought it was a very good idea. So did Mr. Rue. However, it did bring up a number of questions, as they said, how to implement them, the logistics, the design characteristics and everything, and liabilities and all. And so he thought it would be very prudent to go out and answer all the questions as much as possible ahead of time before we actually put this in. Yes.
Troy brought up the subject of maybe some type of electronic device that would open up these floodgates or
But-
pipes to allow
These are
drainage.
all the things that
That has
Michael
to be
has said
looked
that they need to go and answer them before we implement something like this, because there is a number of questions that needs to be done, and he wanted to move forward on it. But it would give us something to let people know. It would give us something that we didn't have before. We would have an increased capacity for drainage, which is what people are really concerned about, without making the ponds unduly large to start off with, and 99% of the times we don't need 100-year storage. So, because we would end up with a bunch of dry ponds that would be overgrown and such, and we're much better served for maintenance and everything with wet ponds that are deeper and that people can use for recreation and everything. So, we have something that can be a potential benefit that we want to move on. We're asking URS to help assist us with Mr. Sanji and come up with some recommendations on that. And we wanted to try to add it to the drainage ordinance. Were there any other things on the drainage ordinance that...
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I had one that was brought up to me. I think I talked to you earlier. You said you had looked at that. Industrial sites are exempt, and I had someone brought to my attention about parish schools being exempt, being it's so costly now to build a school that this would put a whole lot more cost in developing a school with this ordinance. They were looking for an exemption on the school board to build new schools.
Well, and my feeling on that is that drainage is drainage. In the industrial exemption, there are industrial zones in the parish where there is no residential development there at all. They control all of the land, basically. They do their drainage, they do everything else. And so it really doesn't apply for those type of things, because there's no residential problems there. The schools are built in residential areas, and you see the size and acreage of schools, and if we don't go by our drainage plans, I would think there would be any other large commercial establishment is going to have a large drainage impact on the nearby neighbors. I think this is one of our biggest problems, and I would like to see as less exceptions as possible. Yes.
One quick note to that same concept is it can also be easily retrofitted too. So that's another useful aspect of it. Just wanted to make that mention. That.
Yeah, we had talked about that, about existing ponds being able to. That's one of the questions that they're trying to address.
Yeah, so.
Can you highlight some of the changes that have been put in this one versus the last one that was submitted to the full?
Basically, it was rewording to provide the intent, and what happens now is that
Ricky.
It basically makes exceptions for single-family residential to follow a lot of the guidelines. It basically exempts single-family residential from most of the guidelines that you can build up.
And I apologize because I can't take part in a whole lot of discussion on this right here, because I know it's been out for about 30 days, but out of the last 30 days I've worked 28. So I have not had the opportunity to read this.
You're going to own the company pretty soon.
So, I mean, until I get Bragan home and I sit down behind closed doors and read this thing thoroughly, I mean, there's a couple of concerns I had from the previous one that was presented to the council, but I can't even tell you if those concerns have been met or not, or looked at.
I think it's getting to the point.
I apologize, but that's where I'm at.
We have been requested to review this from the last council meeting. Mr. Babin has gone through, he's reviewed it, he's discussed it with people, and he's come back with this copy. It's been out for 30 days. There has been no one that has approached me with any other changes, and because of that, I think unless we send it to the council for a vote, we're not going to move forward at all. So,
Well, I do know that it was sent to the full council. It got pretty cut up. It
Right.
got cut up to the degree that we thought it would be best to send it back to legal to clean it up. You've done that. You're here. I don't have a problem sending it forward to the full council. I'll put that in the form of a motion. That's what you're looking for.
I second.
we have a motion and a second to send this ordinance as written by Mr. Babin to the full council to be voted on as an ordinance. Because of no opposition, we will send that forward, and we ask all the councilmen and women to take a look at it, make sure that there are no other additions or subtractions you'd like to do.
Everybody, all the council has a copy of this one right now. Ms.
Yes.
Resend it. Yeah,
Yes.
they were given this already.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's been sent 30 days ago, and it's also been emailed. And I think Suzanne, they had the other people that were involved, I think, were also notified. So as much as possible, please get out and take a look at it. If there's any changes, please contact me so we can address some of these with legal ahead of time, so that we'll answer any legal questions or anything. And please don't wait until the night of the meeting to just send information that we won't know the correct answers about.
Mr. Lambert, do you need this? I do have a copy of this.
With that, we're on number 10.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
We are now adjourned.